Okay, everybody, today's video is going to be talking about connecting a Kenwood NX-700 to a CSoft console configuration using an IP-224 gateway. And this project started off for me when I had a flight following auxiliary receiver being used, and I wanted to be able to upgrade it from just a receive to a transmit and receive, so it could have a backup in case the main Codan radio went down. So the current Codan receiver for this flight following, it uses the main antenna with a TR relay and a filter preamp splitter, where it shares it with the other Codan receiver. And on the new setup, it would require you having a separate antenna. So that's number one requirement for the new setup, is to have a second antenna that you can use, because if you connected directly to where it was and transmitted, you would damage the receive preamp and splitter stuff here. So you don't want to do any of that. So make sure you have a separate antenna to use if you are going to do this upgrade. Part of the things of doing the upgrade would be upgrading the icon on the CSoft console to give it transmit and channel change capability. And also some settings here on the IP-224 need to be added for the channel steering and that stuff. Also, you need to fabricate a cable from the DB37 to the DB25, and I'll get into that cable here as well. But we're going to start from the left and work our way to the right. I'm going to first start talking about what we need to do in the Telex design, and then I'll go to the IP-224, and then finally I'll go to the Kenwood programming and wrap it all together. So let's start with going into the CSoft design console, and I'll show you how to upgrade this button so that it's got more to it. So let's start with that. So let me minimize this and bring up the CSoft designer. This is a current load showing the screen that I have now, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take this icon right now and give it an upgrade to give it some transmit and channel change capability. And I'm going to just show you real quick how to do that, make it easy. Before we do that, we need to go into the per line setup parameter and add the additional channels. So if we scroll down and we get to our D7 flight follow here, and we come across, well, look at our options. That's going to stay the same, no changes there. And here's our freaks. And I went ahead and did this before the video just so you didn't have to watch me type all this out, but I added in channels 2 through 8 and gave them names to match what's in the radio. And so I took care of that. And since this one is going to be a backup, we are going to want to use the NBC decoding. So that's where I came. It was set a generic, but I changed it to NBC 1200 here, and we want the default, and that's going to stay the same. Nothing's going to change there. So we go OK on that one, and that gives our multicast setup in our CSoft is all ready to go for the transmit part of it. So now let's just come over here and add the buttons that we're going to need. I like to just clone from someone that's already got something going on and just change the function over. So let me do that here. Let me. I'm gonna take this one here, and I'm going to copy, and I need to paste it back. But to paste, in order to get it back on my paste to this screen, you gotta click the main button screen here and get this target, or else it will, if when you go to paste it, it'll put it in no man's land. So we click on this one to get it to show up, and we'll come back over here, we'll go paste, and there it is, and I'll pull it over here and get it, that one back to normal. Okay, and now I'm going to take this this one right here. We're going to do the same for it. We're going to go edit, we're going to copy, and we're going to select it over here, and we're going to paste again. Don't want that. There we go. Alright. Let's stick this back where it was. Stick that back where it was. Okay, wonderful. Now we need to take this one and we need to shrink it a little bit so it fits. And we're going to do the same over here, and we're going to shrink it a little bit. And we're going to take this one and we're going to make it longer. Okay, so now we got the boxes built. Let's go in here and change their properties so that they are on the right thing. And we want the frequency control, except we want to change this down to D7 flight follow. Okay, so we got the frequency assignment taken care of. Let me make sure there's nothing else in there. So we got D7 frequency control. That's all going to be good. Colors, and we go OK. And now we want to do the same down here for the push to talk. So we'll come down here. We'll go properties, and we want to change it from this one over to this one. And we want to make sure it's the use default, and that's done. And now that takes care of building our button here, expanding it out so that it's it can do transmit as well as receive. So all we need to do is come up and save it, and we're going to save, and yes, I want to replace it. Did its little deal, no errors found. Great. So that takes care of the programming of the CSoft. Now let's take a look at the IP-224. This one is going to be already set up with the line 1. It was in local mode, and we're going to keep in local mode, so that's not going to change. I did change the line name over here to the Kenwood just so I know what it's hooked up to when I look on the front screen. But here's our receive, multicast, and transmit multicast addresses. Those are going to stay the same, no changes there. So let's go take a look at our hardware setup. And this is where we're going to get some different changes from before. We're staying 4-wire. We are going to single-ended though instead of balanced, and we're turning our audio impedance up to 10K, and that's simply to match the impedance levels of the radio itself, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Transmit audio also changed to single-ended, and we take our impedance up here to 800 ohms. You'll find when I get into the cable that we have to add a 10K ohm resistor in between the Telex and the NX-700. and I'll go into that in just a little bit. But anyway, there's the main ones lined up there. That's all good. On our gains, we're nice and in the middle here. Zeros on that. We come over here to our per line setup, and this is where you have to do a little bit of attention. Put in the number, only the number of channels you're going to use. Both the 223 and 224 default to enable the first 100 channels. So I go through the process because I've had ones before that didn't work, and it was because all the channels were selected. So I go through and I look and make sure that all the way up to 100 is all unselected. So that's what you want. So we're going to have 8 channels in this radio, and right here where you select them, we have this section here called the digital output, and this is involve the 4 external channel steering lines, and they are set up to. The purpose of them is so that when you change channels, the logic voltage will go up and down on these 4 wires, and it'll cause a channel change in the radio. The big problem that we have is that Telex and Kenwood speak the opposite language, and as far as zeros and ones when it comes to channel steering, and there's no way to change either one of them to match. So what you have to do is you have to do this little deal of reverse logic, and I'll show you how it works. So whenever you have a Kenwood channel, to get the same channel for the IP-224, you take the lows and the highs and you flip them. And you do this for each one, and it makes this pattern so that the Kenwood channel 1 is 224 is number 14. And they go through this pattern where it goes down. As the Kenwood number goes up, the IP-224 goes down to where it gets all the way to, well, in this particular case, the 224 is 15, which equates to a channel, Kenwood channel 0. Kenwood doesn't make a channel 0, and what it does is when it sees that 0, it releases out of remote control, and I'll go into a little bit of that when we go into the Kenwood. But if you're looking at like why is it that on the Telex we have it starts 14, 13, 12, that's the reason why, and it's a long known issue going back way back. We're going to other things in this line setup. We want to make sure we have COR enabled so that we're using the radio COR to control packets being sent out by the IP-224. For our wiring right here, you want to uncheck the common to ground on any of these. You don't want that. We're doing it manually. And then the last but not least is that you want to select NBC decode here, so that you can get the NBC display on your console. Because this is the one, this device here is actually the one that changes the data tones into actual data numbers for the display of the console. But this is the setup for the 224. As far as the levels are concerned, I went through and I looked at the levels and the adjustments and everything, and that's when I found out that we needed that 10K ohm resistor in between, and I'll show you that real fast here. Let me get that pulled up. here's a printout of the cable, and when you look at the transmit coming out of the IP-224 going into the Kenwood, here's our 10K ohm resistor, and that input here, if you look, this is a sheet showing the Kenwood DB25 connector and the pins and their specifications. And I was really surprised, but if you look here at your external mic input, for standard deviation, it's 5 millivolts RMS, which comes out to like minus 40 dBm. So it's really, really low signal and needed to get full deviation. So when I was doing the initial adjustments, I found out if I barely turned up my IP-224, I was already in compression. I was fully deviating, and I had no control over the level. So I just put in a series of resistors in between until I found that level to where my adjustments on my IP-224 would actually have a linear response. So that if I turned it down 6 dB, my deviation would go down by half. And just happened to be a 10K ohm resistor was the magic one that had the right balance that I was looking for. And just to let you know over here on the to get back to the while we had the 10K ohm on the receive side, that was just simply to match this output impedance that was coming out of the receive discriminator output level here. So, and you see it's a 100K ohm. So I was trying to get that as close as I could as well. But each one of these values, whether it be the mic in or audio out, this is going to be independent for each different kind of radio. So it's this level for a Kenwood NX-700. A Realm M150 might be a completely different level. So that's why you have to be prepared to be flexible and possibly have to add some resistors because it's too much of a change to try and get there in the gain settings and adjust it that way. Anyway, that's pretty much everything with the Telex. Not a whole lot of other features to have to worry about on that one. So let's move down to the Kenwood radio itself and take a look at that one. And what after you do the basic channel programming with all your frequencies and the way you want them set up, you get done with that. The only other thing you have to do is go into what's called the extended function screen, and this is where the main differences are done. So we're going to come over here, nothing on optional board. We want to go to the aux tab, and here is where we're going to put in our different programmable functions. So we want to have an external push-to-talk for voice, and we also want a TOR, which is it's basically COR but with added tone. So it's got to have the right PL as well as a carrier to make this output go low, and that's what we want because we're running tone-guarded channels. So we have your basic external push-to-talk input, TOR output, and then we have our 4 frequency select lines, A, B, C, and D. And those are, like I said, the ones that it would be nice if you could get in here and change this to high, and that way you wouldn't have to do the Kenwood to Telex translation, but they don't, so we still have to use that translation. But anyway, Here's your changes in your DB25 connector that you have to be programmed. If we come over here to remote zone, this is where we get the different channels, and I wanted to put in here that we need to you got to make sure that all of these are filled in, because if one of them's missing, it's not going to change channels like you want to. So, and we're just going to do 1 through 8, and 7. Oops, here it is. Okay, and so when you get done, this is what it should look like, and make sure that it is sequential 1 through 8. No misorder, because this needs to match the Telex IP-224 digital outputs here. So I'm going to make sure those match. Modulation line, it came this way, which is correct, which is when you put an external push-to-talk, you're going to disconnect the main mic and connect the external one. So I didn't have to do any changes here, but I did want you to see this is the correct alignment here. And mobile function had no purpose. But yeah, here's the extended function aux screen once again. I don't know of any other changes that needed to be made in the Kenwood itself. It worked the first time I tried it. I did find out the hard way about this TOR line though, because I had some noise and it would fire up even though it wasn't anything coming out of the speaker. It was causing the IP-224s to wake up and send packets for no reason. So I had to change this to TOR instead of COR. But other than that, it worked great the first time. But okay, well there you go. That's the big put together here. Hope it helps you guys out and allows you to get these receivers upgraded to the Kenwoods. All right, appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, everybody, I just wanted to add this little video segment at the end here, showing you what I was meaning by the remote control release of the Kenwood. So here's our little setup here with the Kenwood and the IP-224. I have on the left here, I have a laptop with a tone remote control program hooked up to the IP-223 to control the Kenwood here. And if you look, if I come over here to my channel change, and as soon as I go over to one of the channels, the Kenwood goes into remote control. And as you can see, none of the buttons do anything. I'm completely locked out of any control. So that's why it's important to make sure that the last channel that you have on the control here, when you go to it, so I'll scroll up here and I'll go up to TAC 199, and it released the radio back to me. So here, remote control, and here back to TAC 199. And you want to make sure that just the last channel that you have has that release number on the channel so that it comes out to channel 0. And that way you can get in here and now you can control all the functions on the radio and get back to where it was and do everything that you need to do on the radio, and then go back to remote control. But yep, that's it. That's all. I just wanted to show you that additional remote control function. Thanks.